During World War II, the German army used 4 variants of tanks: regular Battletank, Tank Hunter, Sturmgeschütz and artillery. I recreated all of them in Lego and built displays. Additionally, I will show you custom printed minifigures which perfectly fit the tanks. The Panzerkampfwagen 3 Ausführung L was a mid-war German medium tank introduced in 1942 as an upgrade to the earlier Panzer III variants. It was part of the continued effort to keep the Panzer III effective on the Eastern Front, where it was increasingly outclassed by Soviet T-34s and KV-1s. I've decided to build an urban diorama to display this tank. As I just mentioned, this tank was introduced at the Eastern Front in 1942, so this will be a diorama takes place exactly during that time period at this exact same front. I've wanted to include some cool angles at this build, which is the reason why I've used this complicated technique at first. I've then continued with a much simpler work by adding plates as well as these dark bluish grey 1x2 tiles which work as street. Next, I've built a wall made out of medium nougat pieces as well as light bluish grey pieces, as I think both of these colors work wonderfully together. In addition to these two colors, I've also added bright green plant pieces. And now you can see why I've added these cheese slopes to the build. They perfectly end up with this angled wall. And the best part of this design is that this wedge plate perfectly ends up with the wall. I've then continued building the wall at the right side of the build. As I like the look of some studs in the walls, I've also added 2 headlight bricks to it. And of course the wall had to be extended at the left side of the build as well. As the final build will consist out of 3 levels, I've had to raise the whole build by adding these filler bricks as well as a lot of plates. I've came up with a unique technique for the first railway. I've therefore used these candle pieces as well as some bar pieces. I've built 2 of these and added them to the wedged plates. I've then used leaf pieces to cover both of the gaps. Speaking of several levels, let's add the next wall to the build. I've also complemented a few studs of dark green because I've wanted to add some more color to the whole build. Since there are small gaps in between the round plates, I've added an additional wall behind them. I've then repeated the same technique as before to complement again this angled wall. Speaking of the wall, let's build it real quick. I've therefore again used medium nougat, light bluish grey and bright green pieces. And of course this one perfectly fits again right in between there. I've developed a different technique for the next handrail. I've again used a few bar pieces but stacked them through the 1x1 modified bricks. To have a contrast, I've decided to go with dark bluish grey this time. Then the endless work of tiling just started, but since this is a time-lapse speed build, this don't take too much time for you to watch. I've also went with light bluish grey instead of dark bluish grey for the second floor. I've then added 3 Wehrmacht soldiers to the build. 2 of them are armed with a K98. The third one is holding a ammunition box as well as a jerry can. It is definitely time consuming, but I really like the look of all these 1x1 tiles. As already mentioned, the build consists out of 3 levels, so let's build the final one real quick. I've again added a final wall in medium nougat and light bluish grey. Then I just had to tile off the final part of the MOG, build the tree design, and here is the final build. Before continuing with the second build, let's take a closer look at 3 of the Splinter Camo tankers which just dropped at our web shop called Bricks of Valor, as well as the minibrick.com. If you want to check both shops out, they are linked in the description down below. But let's take a detailed look at the minifigures. As you can see, they all feature inside leg printing, and of course all of the bodies are 360 degrees printed. Beside the first minifigure with the Iron Cross, we also offer this one wearing binoculars. And the final minifigure is wearing a map case, which definitely is my most favorite of this wave. And here are all 3 minifigures perfectly lined up. Please note that only the bodies will be available. The Marder 3 Ausführung M, also known as SD Kfz, WW2 was the final and most advanced version of the Marder 3 series, a German tank destroyer based on the chassis of a Czech-designed Panzer 38T. It entered production in May 1943 and remained in service until the end of World War II. To display the small vehicle and of course the tank crew, I've decided to go with a smaller build. After building a black frame and of course a base plate, I've started building this wall. As I've wanted to create a small arch, I've used these rounded tiles. I've then stacked a bunch of modified bricks onto each other and added again light bluish grey tiles. To round up the whole wall, I've added a bunch of masonry as well as regular 1x2 bricks. As I've wanted to place this wall again at an angle, I've used this jumper tile and then added the wall to the rest of the build. In addition to the 2x2 tiles in Dark Tan, I've also added some bigger parts like these slopes to create some more detailed groundwork. The wedged plates right next to the Marder create the effect that it sank into the ground due to its weight. Let me add this German sign real quick to the wall. And of course our new tank crew members. And here is the final display. The Sturmgeschütz 3 Ausführung G, Stuck 3 OSFG, was the final and most produced variant of the Stuck 3 assault gun tank destroyer. Built on the chassis of the Panzer III, it became one of the most important armored vehicles in the German arsenal during World War II. Introduced in late 1942, the OSFG remained in production until April 1945, with over 7,800 units built, making it the most numerous German armored fighting vehicle of the war. I've used the same baseplate as before and added this cracked wall to the build. As the Stuck just went through that, there's a lot of rubble caused by it. In addition to the wall, I've also added these wedged plates to create the same effect as before with the Marder 3. As I have a special scenery in mind, let me build a toolbox real quick. I've therefore used this dark green piece as well as a dark bluish grey handle piece. For the scene I've had to take apart the chain links of the Stuck. And here is the full build. As the Stuck just went through that wall, they damaged it heavily, as you can see. Before starting new missions, our tankers now first have to repair their vehicle. And here's the final vehicle of today's video, the 15 cm SIG 33 of Panzerkampfwagen 38T Ausführung H, better known as the Grille Ausführung H, was a German self-propelled heavy infantry gun of World War II. Built on the reliable Czech Panzer 38T chassis again, it mounted the 15 cm SIG 33 infantry howitzer, one of the heaviest infantry support guns fielded by the Wehrmacht. If you want to see how this build came together, feel free to check my latest video. Don't forget to like and subscribe and check both of the webshop. Your support really means a lot and helps running all of these projects. See you next time. Bye bye.